بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless this gathering and inshallah guide us to be amongst the people who prepare for death in the best of manner and unite us in this life and inshallah in the next in Firdaus al-A'la with the prophets and the messengers. Allahumma ameen. Last week, continuing the Halaqa series of life after death, last week we talked about Sakarat al-Maut, the agonies or the pangs of death. وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْحَقِّ, as Allah Azza wa Jal says, and the pangs of death, the agonies of death have come with the truth. And we talked about the pangs of death and how even the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, at the last moments of his life, he too was experienced the Sakarat al-Maut. He too experienced the agonies and the pangs of death. And he said, La ilaha illallah, as he wiped his face with water, and he said, Inna lil mawti sakarat. Indeed, the death has pangs, death has agonies. And we talked about the soul being pulled out of the body, and that in this transitional period between life and death, it's good to have the good companies of the angels rather than the bad company of the angels. And for the righteous soul, they will be plucked out, and their soul will ascend the heavens. And so too will the corrupt soul. But they will reach the angels of the heavens and the gates of the heavens, and either the gates will be opened for the righteous soul, or it will be closed for the corrupt soul. So if it was the corrupt soul, it will be sent back down. If it is the righteous soul, it will ascend up. Either way, both will end up eventually coming back down until we are ready for the burial. So inshallah today we'll be talking about the burial. We'll be talking about the grave, the qabr. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was seen, as we were told in the hadith, that he was at the bed of the grave and he was crying, continuously crying until the soil beneath him became wet. And he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ya ikhwani, limithli hadha fa'a'iddu. He said, Oh my brothers, oh my companions, for something like this, prepare yourselves. For something like this, prepare yourselves. This was the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ giving us the forewarning. This is what we prepare all of our lives for the akhirah. And the qabr, sometimes we think of when we think of the word qabr, we think of it as just the gravestone or the graveyard or the place where we were buried. But the qabr is not a place, it's a state. It's a state. Everything from before Qiyamah and everything after death. This is qabr. Everything that happens between our death and between the day that we are resurrected, all of that is qabr. And the qabr, or what we're told about the qabr, is that once the souls have come down and it's time for the body to be put into the grave, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he tells us in Sahih Nisa'i, by hadith by Abu Sa'id al-Khudari, إذا وضعت الجنازة فاحتملها الرجال على أعناقهم, that once the body is put on the necks or the shoulders of the people and it is being ready to be carried to the grave, فإن كانت صالحة قالت قدموني, that if it is a righteous soul, that soul will be saying, bring me forth, rush me to the grave. Because the soul doesn't want to be in this life anymore. It knows what Allah Azza wa Jal has prepared for it, and it's ready for its garden of paradise. It's ready for the grave. It doesn't want to be delayed. It doesn't want to be shipped overseas. It doesn't want to go to a different graveyard. It doesn't want to be buried 2 days or 3 days later. It wants to be buried that day. It wants to rush. Qaddimuni, rush me, bring me forth. Until the burial actually happens and the body is put into the grave and the soul is laid into the grave. We know that once the dirt is put on top and the people leave, that the grave itself squeezes. And this happens to everyone, righteous or corrupt, righteous soul or corrupt soul. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he tells us this. He says, indeed the grave has a squeeze. If anyone were to be saved from it, it would have been who? Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. It would have been Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. Why Sa'd ibn Mu'adh? What was the virtue of Sa'd ibn Mu'adh? Anyone can tell me? Yes, when he died, the very throne of Allah Azza wa Jal shook. 70,000 angels attended his janazah. And he was one of Ashra Mubashirin al-Jannah, one of the 10 promised paradise. Inshallah, we'll be talking about Sa'd ibn Mu'adh very soon in our companions, the Hearts Around the Messenger Halaqa series, inshallah, every Friday, bidnillah. So Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, even the Prophet Muhammad, his body was squeezed. Even Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, he too, his body was squeezed. Everyone's soul will be squeezed in the grave. And this is not necessarily a punishment, the scholars have said, but rather it is the discomfort of the transition into the next life. The natural discomfort of the soul as it transitions into the next life. For the righteous soul, it will be squeezed and then released. But for the corrupt soul, it would be squeezed and it would be continued to be squeezed. And then, as we know, that once the body is put in the grave and the grave is, or the qabr squeezes the soul, that after the people leave now, 2 angels come, named Munkar and Nakir, meaning the denied and the denier. Quite literally means something that no one has seen before. Munkar and Nakir, the denied and the denier, to come to ask 3 questions, and these 3 questions are the last test that every soul will be given before their test is complete. That this is the last test. It's not when we die, it's these 3 questions. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? And what do you have to say about this man? Who is your prophet? What do you have to say about this man, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And you ask any kid here today, they'll be able to answer that question. Everyone knows the answers to these questions. But you will not be able to answer it with your intellect. You will only be able to answer it with the actions that you lived by through La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. If you lived La ilaha illallah, if you had taqwa in your life, if you showed the actions, then you will be able to answer it. But you will not be able to answer it with your intellect, only through the actions that you lived by. Only through the actions that you lived by. If you followed the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you followed the Quran, if you followed the commandments of Allah Azza wa Jal, stayed away from the munkar, then you will be of those, inshallah, who will be able to answer the questions. And so if the believer answers correctly, then the angels show the soul, they open up a portal, a window, something that shows them their place in the hellfire. I'll repeat that one more time. If the right soul is righteous, a window, a portal, something will be opened to show them their place in the hellfire. And it will be said to that soul, "Unzur ila maq'adika minan nar." This is from the Sahih Bukhari hadith of Anas ibn Malik. "Unzur ila maq'adika minan nar, abdalaka Allahu bihi maq'adan min al-jannah." It will be said to that soul, this was your place in the hellfire. This was your place in the hellfire. Allah Azza wa Jal has traded it for you a place in paradise. Allah Azza wa Jal has replaced it or traded for you a place in the paradise. So what's the wisdom behind this? Why? Why is the righteous soul shown his place in the hellfire first? It can appreciate more. So it's not just happiness that you know where you're going in paradise, but part of the happiness is knowing what you were saved from. Knowing what you were saved from. You knowing that this was your place in hellfire and that this is now your place in Jannah. The second wisdom, or one of the second wisdoms of this, is that to show all of us that each and every single one of us have our own special place in the hellfire. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Every single one of us is at loss. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Every single one of us has our place in the hellfire. Every single one of us will be shown our special place in the hellfire. Either we are saved or either we were put in that same place. And so these are the 2 wisdoms of why, or what we can take from that we are shown our place in the hellfire first. And vice versa, that the disbeliever, that by answering these 3 questions incorrectly, a portal, a window will be shown to them and they will be shown their place in Jannah. They will be shown their place in Jannah. And this is to show, this is what you missed. Why? To increase them, or to show them how great of a loss that they had, what great of a loss that they missed out on. And to increase their loss by then showing them their place in the hellfire. To show us as well that each and every single one of us has a place in paradise. Either we will inherit that place or we will not. Right? So this beautiful hadith, very beautiful hadith, multiple benefits that we can take from. And once they're shown that place, both in the hellfire and in paradise, it will be said to the righteous soul, هَذَا مَقَعَدُكَ عَلَى الْيَقِينِ كُنْتَ وَعَلَيْهِ مِتْ وَعَلَيْهِ تُبْعَث. It will be said, on certainty you were upon certainty, and upon certainty you died, and upon certainty you will be resurrected. And it will be said to the corrupt soul, هَذَا مَقْعَدُكَ عَلَى الشَّكِّ كُنْتَ وَعَلَيْهِ مِتْ وَعَلَيْهِ تُبْعَث. It was upon doubt that you were upon, and upon doubt that you died upon, and upon doubt you will be raised upon. And the grave, as we said, will be expanded for the righteous soul, and the grave will not continue to squeeze that soul, but it will be expanded to be Rawdan min Riyad al-Jannah, a garden from the garden of paradise. And it will be said to that soul, ثُمَّ يُقَالُ لَهُ, as was told us in Sahih Tirmidhi, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, he narrates that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that then it will be said to that soul, ثُمَّ يُقَالُ لَهُ نِمْ. It will be said to that soul, sleep. Sleep. And the soul will say, let me go back to my family. Let me tell them of the news, of the bushra, of the glad tidings. And it will be said to that soul, Nim kanomatil arus. Nim, or sleep, as if you were sleeping on your wedding night. Sleep, a blissful sleep. And this goes to show us that, some people ask, do we feel the time in the grave? From the moment that we die all the way to Yawm al-Qiyamah is a very, very long time. How long has Adam alayhi salam been deceased? How long has he been dead? Right? Does he feel that time? The same way we see sleep here, right? It's called, or sleep that we sleep today or tonight will be called, or it is called Mawtat al-Sughra. It's called the minor death. It's called the minor death. We're not conscious of ourselves, and we don't really feel a sense of time. So we sleep 7 hours. We didn't really feel the 7 hours. Some of us claim to, but we're completely unconscious, right? We're completely unconscious. And the same way, we won't feel the time. Time takes a whole nother dimension after we pass away. After we die, time is completely different. We don't really feel it, right? It's going to be said, sleep. Just as the Prophet Muhammad said, that the angels will say to that soul, sleep. And this sleep is the same kind of sleep that we have. There's Mawtat al-Sughra, Mawtat al-Kubra. The minor sleep that we sleep on our daily basis, and the major sleep, which is that of death. It will be said to that soul, sleep, until Allah Azza wa Jal resurrects the soul for Yawm al-Qiyamah, for Judgment Day. And now, inshallah, we'll conclude with this beautiful hadith. The Prophet Muhammad, he gives us a beautiful dua for us to say at the end of our salahs. Before we give salams, before we give tasneem, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhabi jahannam, wa min adhabi al-qabr, wa min fitnati al-mahya wal-mamat, wa min sharri fitnati al-masih al-dajjal. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from the punishment of the hellfire, from the punishment of the grave, from the fitna of life and death, and from the trial or the fitna of the Masih al-Dajjal, from the Dajjal. And this is something that the Prophet Muhammad would say after every salah. After every salah. So if the Prophet Muhammad is saying it after every salah, then why should we not use this beautiful dua? Right? And may Allah Azza wa Jal keep us away from the punishment of the grave. May Allah Azza wa Jal keep us away from the punishment of the hellfire. May Allah Azza wa Jal save us from the trials of this life and the trials of the afterlife. And may Allah Azza wa Jal protect us from the Masih al-Dajjal. May Allah Azza wa Jal increase us in knowledge and enable us to prepare for the life after death. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.